first time Harry Nilsson heard Without You, he thought it was a Beatles song. The sweeping melody, the sorrowful lyrics, it had that undeniable magic, the kind that only legendary songwriters seemed capable of creating. But the song didn't come from John Lennon or Paul McCartney. It came from a band that, at one point, seemed destined for greatness, but instead became a tragic cautionary tale in the music industry. The band was Badfinger. By the time Nilsson recorded Without You, the song had already lived a tragic life of its own. Written by Pete Ham and Tom Evans, two of Badfinger's core members, the song was born from heartbreak. But not just the kind that inspires love songs, it was the kind that foreshadows something darker, something heavier. And for Nilsson, who turned it into one of the most haunting ballads of all time, the song's history would soon become eerily reflective of his own fate. The rise and fall of Badfinger. In the late 1960s, Badfinger was poised to be the next big thing. They were one of the first bands signed to the Beatles' Apple Records, and they had talent that could rival the biggest names in rock. They weren't just another band trying to imitate the British invasion, they had their own sound, a mix of power pop and heartfelt songwriting. With hits like Come and Get It, No Matter What, and Day After Day, they were climbing the charts and earning the respect of industry giants. Even Paul McCartney saw their potential. He wrote and produced Come and Get It for them, practically handing them their first big break. But behind the scenes, things were not as golden as they appeared. The band's management was a disaster. Contracts were shady, money was disappearing, and despite their success, they were constantly struggling financially. Pete Ham, the band's creative force, was particularly affected by the turmoil. He had dreamed of a life where music could sustain him, where his art could flourish without the weight of business politics crushing him. But that dream was slipping away. During one of their recording sessions, Ham found himself overwhelmed by personal and professional turmoil. He had written a song, a heartbreaking piano-driven ballad, about the pain of losing love and feeling helpless. But something was missing. That's when Tom Evans, another member of the band, stepped in. Evans had been going through his own struggles, and he added a chorus so devastatingly beautiful that it completed the song. That song was Without You, the song that would outlive its creators. Badfinger released Without You on their 1970 album No Dice, but oddly enough, it wasn't a massive hit for them. It was just another track on the album, one among many. Their record label barely promoted it. The band continued to fight for stability, unaware that they had written a song that would outlive them. Then, in 1971, Harry Nilsson heard it. Nilsson was already an established artist by then, known for his impressive vocal range and eccentric personality. He wasn't the kind of artist who chased fame. His music was often experimental, playful, and deeply personal. He had friends in high places. John Lennon was a massive fan, but he preferred to operate in the shadows of mainstream success rather than directly in its spotlight. When Nilsson heard Without You, he was floored. The sorrow, the raw emotion, it spoke to something deep inside him. He immediately decided to record it. What happened next was one of the most grueling recording sessions of Nilsson's career. Nilsson's producer, Richard Perry, knew the song had potential, but he wanted more than just a good cover. He wanted a version that would define a generation. So he pushed Nilsson hard. Unlike Pete Ham and Tom Evans, Nilsson hadn't written the song, but he had to live it in order to sing it properly. Take after take, he tried to capture the emotion that made Without You so haunting. His voice cracked under the weight of the lyrics. He pushed himself to his vocal limits, straining to find the desperation needed to deliver the song properly. The recording process took a toll on him, but when he finally nailed the take, the one that would define his career, it was chilling. His version of Without You was released in 1971 and became an instant classic. It topped the charts, won him a Grammy, and turned him into a household name. But while the song brought Nilsson his biggest success, it carried a dark shadow with it. The curse of Without You for Badfinger, the success of Without You should have been a moment of triumph. After all, they had written one of the most beloved songs of all time. But they didn't see much of the money. Due to bad contracts and business mismanagement, the band never received proper royalties for the song's success. Pete Ham, who had already been struggling emotionally, saw his dreams crumbling around him. In 1975, overwhelmed by financial troubles and betrayal, Badfinger's Without You was meant to be their defining masterpiece, a song that would cement their place in rock history. Instead, it became a haunting symbol of their struggles. Originally written by Pete Ham and Tom Evans, the song captured deep sorrow, an emotion that would eerily mirror the fate of its creators. The band had everything going for them: talent, a deal with the Beatles' Apple Records, and a string of early successes. But behind the scenes, their manager Stan Pauly was handling their finances in a way that led to serious difficulties. Despite hit records, Badfinger found themselves in a dire situation. Their earnings vanished, and legal battles tied up what little money they had. While the public saw a rising band, the reality was far more complicated. Pete Ham, the band's heart and soul, had always been the optimist. He believed in the music, in his bandmates, and in the future they were building together. But when he discovered that their finances had been completely drained right before the birth of his first child, he fell into despair. On April 24, 1975, overwhelmed by stress and hopelessness, he left this world too soon at just 27 years old. His final note left no doubt about who he blamed. Stan Pauly is a soulless man. Tom Evans was devastated. He tried to keep Badfinger going, but nothing seemed to work. The legal battles over Without You's royalties dragged on, preventing him from getting the financial security he deserved. He fought bitterly with former bandmate Joey Molland over money, and in 1983, after a heated argument, he tragically followed the same path as Ham. Meanwhile, Harry Nilsson had turned Without You into one of the most unforgettable ballads of all time. His soaring vocals and emotional delivery made it a massive success, bringing him commercial fame, but it also marked a turning point in his life. Already known for his unpredictable lifestyle, Nilsson's health and career faced serious challenges. His choices took a toll, and by the 1980s, he had largely stepped away from the public eye. In 1994, Nilsson suffered a severe health crisis and passed away shortly after, leaving behind a complex legacy. His version of Without You had immortalized the song, but it came at a steep cost. Today, Without You remains one of the most beloved ballads in music history, but its legacy is one of heartbreak, struggles, and lost potential. It's more than just a song about love and loss. It's a haunting reminder of the difficulties endured by the men who brought it to life.
The greatest band that almost was. The tragic tale of Badfinger, a somewhat forgotten 70s rock group that was supposed to be the next big thing. Beginning in the early 70s, Badfinger released a string of worldwide hits and sold millions of albums. Some called them the second coming of the Beatles. Even the Fab Four themselves not only endorsed the group, but produced some of their best work.